Welcome to the Adventures in Alchemy podcast, where we share tips, techniques, and true stories to support you in using the law of attraction and alchemy to create magic and live the life of your dreams. Here's your host, the founder of DailyAlchemy.com, Michelle Martin Dobbins.
Hey there, it is Michelle Martin Dobbins from DailyAlchemy.com, and today I want to talk to you about creating yourself. A lot of times, I think we get the impression that we are who we are, or we're shaped by everything that's happened around us, who our parents were, where we're born, what culture we live in. And yeah, that is true. That's totally true. And most of us just decide to go through life and let what happens to us create us. But that's just being on default. And you don't have to do that. And in fact, I think your life will be much richer if you choose to create who you want to be. Now, you can't change your height and your race and your sex and, all these other little things about you. And that's not what I'm really talking about. Yes, that definitely makes up part of who you are, but I'm talking about creating your persona, creating how you move in the world, creating what you're going to do in this world, the energy that you bring to this world, and, what is your purpose for being here? And, it doesn't even have to be that serious as a purpose, like you have to change the world. But in being yourself, or creating yourself to be the person that you want to be, you will likely change the world because you're going to change the world for yourself. And I have just found people who are intentionally creating who they are, they stand out. And a lot of times there may be people who make fun of them. People would kind of usually either love them or hate them in a way. And I think it's because, they love the fact that that person is brave enough to be who they are. Isn't that crazy? We live in a world where we have to have bravery to create ourselves and live as who we want to be. And then the people who hate them, I probably hate them because they don't feel that same freedom to choose and create themselves. They feel stuck. They feel like they have to be who they've been told they need to be. And you don't have to do that. And so I want to share briefly with you today a story of 3 people who I think are wonderful examples of people who create themselves. And 2 of them are famous and 1 of them is not. So I will not name that person. They will remain anonymous, but I will just describe how they've created themselves in wonderful ways. And then I have an assignment for you, which is very similar to an assignment that I received from my life coach. So without further ado, 3 examples of people who have created themselves. And one, if you're in the self-improvement field, is not going to come as a big surprise to you. And that's Tony Robbins, right? And he's even talked about how Tony Robbins, as Tony Robbins is, did not exist. He created that persona. He watched other people, but he is very unique. He does things his own way. He has his own style. He creates so much magical change for people because he's done it for himself. And that's what really helps other people change, is getting into that energy of him. And he's not afraid to call other people out because he's not afraid to call himself out. And if you followed Tony, I'm not a huge Tony fan. So I love him. I love his work. But what I'm saying is I've listened to some of his work back in the day and then recently started listening to his work again. There was a huge gap, and I noticed for myself that he changed. His persona changed. He's always been very high energy and very dynamic, but the way he talks and interacts with people has changed. He also, he uses in a lot of curse words now, which is totally doesn't bother me, but I had listened and said some people were totally offended and had to leave. And he's like, you know what? That's okay. We just don't mesh now. But he followed, that's what he felt was his next step for him. And I think he does that just there's no censoring. And that's what he needs to do to teach people where he is now. And that's the persona he's created. And, like him, hate him, love him, I think you can agree that he has created a really dynamic personality and it works for him. He seems to be a very happy, successful person. And you don't have to be successful in the way that Tony Robbins is successful, because one of the people I'm going to tell you about is not famous, not extremely wealthy, but just lives a really, really cool life that she has created. But before I tell you about her, I'm going to bring up another person that I have not been a fan of throughout life. But I really kind of got my eyes opened up to more of how he created his life a few months ago. And that's Hugh Hefner. And, he's definitely hated by a lot of people, loved by a lot of people. But my husband and I watched this series and highly recommend it. I believe it's on Netflix. And it's basically his life story. And wow, it really shows how he became who he was, how he created who he was, because he made a decision. He went through these steps and, some of it just kind of happened, not necessarily just happened, but, when he created Playboy, he decided he wanted to be that person who lived that life that he was making that magazine for. And he did that. Now, we can have judgments about that. Because I myself was like, he left. He wasn't really there for his kids. I know his daughter, some of them are very close to him now. And his daughter said, as a child, he was like that fun uncle. He came for holidays. And, they adored him, but he wasn't a part of their day-to-day life. Which, it can be sad in a way. But then I also realized that if he was part of their day-to-day life, maybe it would have been worse, because he wouldn't have been happy. And he would have been the cranky, mean daddy that wasn't happy to be there. So, I try to pull back that judgment, because I, being a very family-oriented person, and that's where I just get my joy. Sometimes I want to put judgments on other people, but he decided, here he was going to be this person. And I think also one of the things that I learned about him watching this movie was he was when he decided who he was going to be, and, some part of creating yourself, you're creating who you want to be, that future version of yourself, but you also have these convictions in you that you can't throw to the wayside, which a lot of us do. And for him, it would have been really easy to throw some of his convictions to the wayside, but he didn't. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about, he had a pretty deep sense of ethics and morals, which seems kind of strange, but from watching it, you saw that, he was very deeply entrenched at that time that he loved jazz music, and he loved a lot of the African Americans who played jazz music and invited them to play on his stages, on his TV shows. And at that time period in history, he got a lot of flack from it. His Playboy Penthouse show was not shown in the southern U.S. because he had black musicians on it, and it's he almost became part of the civil rights movement, because he stood up and did what was right, what was normal. He did not bow under the pressure, and I think that's great. I mean, not that we should all do that, right? We should all stand firm in our integrity and do what we're called to do. But, the truth of the matter is a lot of people do cave under that pressure. And he decided who he was and what he stood for. And, whether or not we think that that's good, I just feel like that's where his success and a lot of the joy and happiness that he seems to exude comes from, is the fact that he is unapologetic about standing firm in what he believes. And so that's kind of why I think he's a really great example of creating yourself, even though I'm not sure that he's done a lot of great things for women, but in some ways maybe he has. But moving on, I don't want to get off on a totally another topic. Okay, this next person that I want to talk about, She is someone that I've known for many, many years. We went to grade school together, and we've always been good friends. And she has, I think one of the reasons we click is because we were kind of both the weirdos, and not to call her a weirdo, but we just like to follow the beat of our own drummer, do things our own way. We were the artsy kids, the kids just didn't follow the straight and narrow fit in with everybody path. And I just delight in seeing the things that she does as an adult, because she is not afraid to try anything. And in her area of creating herself, a lot deals with the way she dresses and presents herself to the world. And also just kind of what she gets into hobby-wise. And she just throws herself in. And so probably 5 or 6 years ago, she dressed very punkish. She had very bright, vibrant hair. Really, she's always been very stylish, but very nice, stylish, but loud clothing. The bright fluorescent hair, and she goes really into the ghost hunting theme, and she hung out with a lot of people who did that, and I just loved her because I still do. She just created that persona, and she just dove into it deeply, and now she's created a total different persona. She does 50s pinup dressing every day. Her hair has the Betty Page bangs and the bouffant curls, and she wears 50s styles, beautiful, just darling dresses, and she's dressed to the nines. And she's also gotten really into that 50s rockabilly lifestyle. I adore the fact that she does what she wants to do. She creates herself into the persona she wants to create. And then when she gets bored of it, she changes it every 4 or 5 years. She kind of gets into something new. And, she lives in a really small town. And I know that people probably take lots of second glances when they see her on the street. And I know that she doesn't give one flip about that, which I adore. And, she may be the easiest example for anybody to follow, because you can always just follow your passions and dress the way you want to dress and do the hobbies and things that you want to do. You do not have to fit in with everybody in your neighborhood or in your town. It's really quite boring how we all try to fit in. And maybe I say that coming from that perspective of someone who's never really felt like she did fit in. And, growing up, I really wanted to. And now that I'm older, I've kind of why did I ever want that? So those are 3 examples of people who have created themselves. And before I give you the assignment that I would love for you to dive in and try, I want to remind you of a secret, which is not such a secret, but we forget. Everybody creates themselves. Everybody creates themselves. We're shaped definitely by where we're born and all those things, but we get to decide who we want to be and how we want to react to those things. That's a choice. And the older we get, as far as, when we're a child, we have a little bit less control. But the older we get, and once we're into adulthood, we definitely get to decide. We get to decide if we're going to dress this way, or we're going to do this hobby, or whatever it is. We just get to create who we are. If you do it on default, it's not nearly as much fun. So I myself have been kind of going through some major shifts and feeling like I'm shedding some skin, almost like a snake, letting go of old things. And I've changed how I dress and how I talk a little bit even. I've changed definitely my daily routine a lot in the past 6 months. Things have just really shifted. I did some really deep work. And I'm still doing shadow work, meditation, personal growth work, working with a coach. And it has created a desire in me to create myself as a different person. And it almost feels like it's, mandated, which I think some people like, Tony Robbins and Hugh Hefner may even feel like this mandate in their heart, like this is who I need to be. And I feel like a lot more of us have that mandate, but we ignore it because we're afraid of what would happen. And, the truth of the matter is what would happen is some people would love you and some people would hate you. And guess what? Right now, some people love you and some people hate you. So you might as well follow the mandate of your heart and become who you want to be. And take that. I'm saying that not just to you, but to myself because I am in this process. I'm definitely not there, but I am shifting and I'm learning that the world doesn't necessarily collapse when you are who you are. And in fact, you would probably be surprised that as you shift, you'll get a lot of crickets. Like there are things that I've done and things that I've shared that have been very secret and I've just decided not to hide them. And I realized that people, for the most part, don't care. And those who don't like it, they kind of go away and stop talking to you, but they don't necessarily attack you. I'm not saying that can't happen, but for me, mostly it's just been a whole lot of not what I was expecting, which is kind of nice. So here is my assignment that my life coach gave me, and I think it's a great one, and so I wanted to share it with you. And that is to decide who you want to be and to take 3 actions to support it. Now, guess what? You can look at your life and say, I am who I want to be right now. And that's fine. Do that and, just commit to it and then take actions. And I am sorry if you can hear my dogs in the background barking. They're far away where I can't get to them. But I'm going to try to soldier on because I'm almost done. So choose who you want to be. And don't get too caught up into it because just like my friend, you can change this anytime you want. But for right now, just for today, like for the next week, for the next month, or the next year, who would you like to create yourself to be? And if you're perfectly content with who you are right now, that's fine. Take 3 actions to just soldier that in, dig that in even deeper, and really commit to being who you are. If you want to make some changes, pick 3 actions that you can take in the next week, okay? Not in the next year, not in the next month, in the next week. That will help you transition to create yourself as this person that you want to be. And if you're not willing to take those actions in the next 3 weeks, then maybe that's not the persona that you really want to create. So just think about that and make that commitment. For me, this was not part of the assignment that my coach gave me, but I like to switch it up a little bit and say, make at least one of those actions a change to your daily routine. Because to me, that's my website is Daily Alchemy, and Daily Alchemy is about making those little shifts and those little changes in your daily routine that create magic in your life. Sometimes you can do one action that takes 3 minutes every day, and it will shift the energy of your entire day. So decide, what would that action be for you? I mean, it could be changing how you dress. It could be changing how you do your hair. It could be adding a meditation if you're not meditating, or doing offerings to deities. It could be stopping by a coffee shop every day for half an hour and sitting and writing. It can be something that doesn't even change your time, such as just styling your hair in a different way, or it can be something like that, like taking out time to write every day. What is going to change that shift? And when you do the actions, you do them as the new persona. You don't do them as the old persona. You step into that new persona. And in fact, one of the the actions that I would recommend is to make that new persona kind of a mantra, like, right, I am da 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 da, you know, like Hugh Hefner is like, I am the ultimate playboy. I live the playboy lifestyle. And I believe he kind of had something like that, but it was a little bit more in depth. Whatever it is, you know, Tony Robbins, I am the ultimate motivator. I change and shift people's lives in an instant. In 3 minutes, I change somebody's life profoundly. You know, my friend, I am the ultimate 50s rockabilly chick. Who are you? Decide who you're creating yourself to be, and get up every morning, have that written somewhere where you can see it and say it as your mantra, especially in the morning, and then step into it. Feel what it feels like to be that person now that you're creating, and probably keep saying that mantra throughout the day until it just becomes natural that is who you feel like. And, you know, eventually you're going to look around and realize that you have created yourself to be what you chose for yourself. And if you love it, then voila, it's wonderful. Keep on going. And if you don't, well, you got to create this so you can create something else, and you just shift and go, this doesn't really feel quite right. Let's tweak it, or let's do a 180 and do something totally different. You know, this is your life. You get to create it. You can allow everybody else around you to tell you who you are, or you can decide who you are, and you can be who you choose to be. You can create you. So that's my message for today. I'm working through this just right along with all of you, because I have allowed what I thought I needed to be for other people to create who I am. And I'm not going to do that anymore. So I would love to hear what you have decided to create yourself as. And I would love to hear that the action steps that you've taken in that direction. So please feel free to reach out. Let me know. You can find me on my Facebook page. You can find me on all the social medias. The easiest way is to go to dailyalchemy.com, and you'll find links to Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all that good stuff. And there's even a little email if you want to shoot me a little envelope, actually. If you want to shoot me an email, you just click on that and send it over. So what are you going to create? Who are you going to create? I guess I should say. I can't wait to hear about it. Have a magical day. Namaste and big hugs. Would you like some help creating more magic in your life? I've got a ton of freebies and goodies for you. They're all tucked away inside my magical freebie vault. You can get free access, though. You just have to go to www.dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault. Again, that's dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault. And when you get there, you can just plug in your name and email, and you will get instant access to all kinds of goodies. There are daily and weekly manifesting planners, the How to Shift Your Vibe in 5 Minutes e-kit that has audios and a workbook. There are moon manifesting planners and daily love lists and money trackers and all kinds of goodies right there. I didn't want to make you have to go to a bunch of different pages and sites and wait for certain freebies to come out. So I just took all of my freebies and put them in one place where you could just sign up one time and download any of them that you want at any time that you needed. So you can just head on over to dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault and download them today. Have a magical day.
Thanks for listening to the Adventures in Alchemy podcast. Connect with me on thedailyalchemy.com or Facebook at facebook.com/Michelle Dobbins, author. Join us next time for even more magical life tips.